Hello everyone, my name is Shubhajit and you are watching Web Dev Shubhajit. Today we will be discussing about the one of the functionalities of Promise API, which is Promise.all method. The twist here is we will actually be implementing the Promise.all functionality on our own, and we will not be using the native Promise.all functionality which is given by JavaScript. Okay, so before moving forward, I just want to tell you that this is a bit advanced video because here you will be understanding how the promise.all functionality is implemented, what all are present inside that, and how to actually return the correct value out of it. Uh, and I also want to tell you that what promise.all is. So I can just give you an example here only. So I will show you what all promises I have. We have P1, P2, P3 and P4 as promises. Okay. And if you are not aware of promises, I actually urge you to watch my previous video on promises, which I will also link in the description. So you can go and watch that and then come here. It will be really easy to understand after that. So this promise is resolved after 1 second, 1000 milliseconds, that is 1 second, and it will be resolving with the value of P1. So it means that whenever this promise is resolved after 1 second, it will return us P1. Okay, so this P2, it will be resolved after 2 seconds and it will be returning us with value P2. And then P3, it will be resolved with the value P3 after 3 seconds. Okay, this P4 will be instantly resolved the time it gets initialized. So here const P4 is equals to promise dot resolve. So we haven't done any set timeout here. We just have used the promise dot resolve, which actually resolves it right away. So yeah, so after it gets resolved, it returns as a value of P4. Okay, now what promise.all is. So inside promise.all, you will have an array of promises. Now you expect that promise.all will actually return us an array only after resolving all these promises P1, P2, P3 and P4 in the same order. And if there is any error, or if there is any error while resolving any of the promises, then it will not give us an array of promises. It will actually throw us the error or give us the error. Okay, you have to understand that. And the most important part is these all promises should be resolved parallelly. So as I have told, what does parallelly means? That this P1 is resolved in 1 second, this P2 is resolved in 2 seconds, P3 is resolved in 3 seconds, and P4 is resolved instantly. So if I say that they are parallelly resolved, it means after 3 seconds, I should get the output array of all the promises resolved. Okay, so that should be the idea. And let's say if I actually go on one by one resolving them, that it will take 1 second, it will take 2 seconds, it will take 3 seconds. So 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 seconds, and it is right away resolved. So I'm not taking any time interval for resolving it. It will be right away resolved. So maybe 1 or 2 or 3 milliseconds, whatever. I don't know that, but it will be resolved right away. So I'm not taking the time for that. So 6 seconds it will be taking, but we actually want to do it in around 3 seconds. That is the maximum time which is taken by any of the promises to resolve. So that is our main use case. When we want to, when we have multiple promises and they are not related to each other, and we want that all these promises should be resolved parallelly without blocking the thread for longer amount of time, or sequential without going sequentially. In that case, we use this promise.all method. Okay, now we want to actually implement this method on our own. Okay, that's good. For that, let me add a functionality which is promise.all x, which is for our convenience, that this is a method which is the promise.all, but it is implemented by our own. Okay, so all custom. So I'm actually Actually, making an attribute to promise object inside JavaScript, and I am actually like initializing it with all custom. What is this all custom? This all custom, oh sorry, is a function which takes which takes okay, not to confuse you, let us have this only. Yeah, that should be good. Promise.all custom is equals to all custom. So I am actually adding an attribute to this promise object in JavaScript, which is named all custom, and its value will be this all custom function. Okay, I hope you understand that. And I understand that this is all custom. Okay, so promise.all custom, and I will be getting an array of promises here. So let me have this promise array here. Okay, and then uh, let us now list down what we actually need. The first point is, let me actually note down that the first point is I want to return a promise uh, which will contain the resolved values of the promise array. Okay, okay. The second thing is I want to execute the promises parallelly. Okay, that is also fine. Let's actually create the structure and then we can move forward. So as I have told, we have to return a promise. So here I am creating a new promise. So this is a standard way to create a promise, which actually takes two arguments inside it, resolve and reject. So inside this, we will have the logic to parallelly uh, execute promises. Okay, and inside this only somewhere we will be resolving an array of promises which will be taken as a variable called response. So let's say the response what will be sent whenever the all custom function is called is this response. Okay, now okay, we are returning a promise. That is fine, that I can understand. Okay, now what should be inside that? How to parallelly execute the promises? One thing is coming to my mind is, okay, we can resolve these promises by running a for each loop. Whatever array I am getting, I will actually have a for loop over all these promises, and I will call these promises with a then method, promise.then. And what does promise.then do? Promise.then will actually execute whenever that promise is resolved. Okay, let me show you what I'm telling. So promise array dot for each, and inside for each, let's take each of the promises and also the index value for that. Okay, so this promise array, so if I tell you what it is doing, p1 p2 p3 p4, p1 is index 0, p2 is index 1, index 2, index 3. Okay, like this. Okay, that is fine. So what we have to do, we actually have to seek for each of the promises whenever it is resolved. Whenever it is resolved, I just need to add it into the response array. And where I will be adding, yeah, one more point, it promises should be resolved in same order as passed. So it is passed in the order of p1 p2 p3 p4. I don't know that p4 takes 10 seconds or p3 takes 5 seconds or p2 takes 20 seconds. The order of return from this all custom function should be the same as p1 p2 p3 and p4 only. Doesn't matter what will be the what you say, what will be the resolving time of them. Okay, I will illustrate that. Let me complete this code first. So response index, so whenever this promise gets resolved and an index is attached to that, so as I have explained, p1 with index 0, p3 with index 2, p4 with index 3, p2 with index 1. So let's say yeah, so in our case p4 will resolve the moment as it is initialized. Okay, so p4 will be the first one to be resolved, but still the order of p4 should be as the last. So each of the promises have an index. So in response index, what I will be doing, I will be assigning it to the resolved data, whatever it will be resolved with. Okay, so index I'm using. So if p4 gets resolved at first, so response index, p4's index is 3. So response 3 will get the p4's resolved data, and it will not hamper the p1, p2, p3's resolved data and their positions, that is 0, 1 and 2 index. I hope you understand. So whenever any promise gets resolved, it will be resolved and will be stored in that index order in which it has been passed. I hope that is understood. Okay. Okay, that is fine. And I will also add a catch method. So let's say any error happens. So whenever some error happens, the definition of promise.all says that if all the promises are resolved, then give me the return, the resolved array with the same order. And if any one of the promises gets rejected, then return me or reject the promise with the given error. So I'm rejecting the promise with the given error here if any of the promises gets rejected. Okay, so now here if you are able to see, there is a gap. We are not resolving anything inside here, and you can see this resolve method is not used. Where to resolve it? Actually it will be resolved inside this data method. So you will say, okay Shubhajit, what you should do, just resolve it with this response. No, this is wrong. What will happen here? Whichever the first resolved response, it will be resolved with that response only. It means the first time, that is, the P4 gets resolved and it's present in index 3, the 0, 1, 2 index are empty and the value will be resolved with that response only and it will be returned. I don't want that. What I want that when all the promises are resolved at that time only, this value should be resolved. To keep a to keep that in count, okay, to track that value, we have also a count variable. So the number of times the resolving of a promise happens, I will actually increment the count value to count plus 1. So now I know that whenever the count value reaches to the length of the promise array, uh, promise array dot length, in that case, I actually need to resolve this. And that moment only I need to resolve this. I hope you have understood that. Okay. So first one resolved, count is 1. Second one resolved, count is 2. Third one resolved, count is 3. Fourth one is resolved, count should be 4. Promise array length is 4, count is 4. This if condition is true, it will be resolved with the response, and this response now have all the indexes filled with the data or the resolved promises p1, p2, p3, p4. And let's say if any of the promises shows error before resolving, then it will go inside this catch block and it will be rejected with an error. So here an error will be thrown. Okay, I hope you have understood this all. Now it's time to actually run this one and see what is happening. So here we have all the promises as resolved, 1000, 2000, 3000, and this P4 is resolved, yeah, right away. Let me actually run this JavaScript file. So we can use node and then we need to go to that directory. So inside promise implementation, and inside that we have this promise method, promise file, promise.js. Okay, Can you see that P1, P2, P3, P4? I also want to see one more. I want to show you one more thing, that P4 is resolved at the last. Like P4 is at the last position, but it is resolved at the like first. It is the first one to be resolved, but still it is the last position, and it happens because we have taken account the index. Okay, this one is good. uh, this program ends where it is coming from. This is actually coming from the last line. So promises will not block the execution of the method, of the whole thread. It will actually move the execution to the next line, and it will execute the things. So whenever set timeout is called inside this, it will go to the timer API, and the main thread is running. So that's why the program ends is shown first, and then the promises are resolved, it is shown. Okay, and you should also understand that it actually takes 3 seconds, not 6 seconds. I will show you again. 1, 2, 3. Can you see? Yeah, because they are running parallelly. So whatever the maximum time of all these promises to resolve, that will be actually taken to resolve all the promises because they're running parallelly. We also have methods like all settled, race, any of promise dot all settled, promise dot trace, and promise dot any, and actually making small changes inside this function, we can implement them also. But this video will not be for that. I will actually have some other videos coming after this which will explain them. But till that time, I hope this video is helpful. If you understood it, please give a like. And if you don't understand that, please watch it again. You will definitely understand. I have explained it very well. Apart from that, thanks a lot, guys, for watching it. Bye bye.